Welcome to the third video in this series of videos talking about how to do these two-dimensional list problems. Problem number 3 is the chessboard. It says, given two numbers m and n, create a two-dimensional array of size m by n and populate it with characters dot and star in a checkerboard pattern. The top left corner should have the character dot. So once again, before I start any programming at all, I'm going to do some problem solving. So here are 3 examples from the doc test file, and so I want to examine these closely so I can understand any patterns that might exist. So when I look at this this top left example here, of course I know this is 0, 0, right? So I'm just going to label my rows and my columns. So column 0, column 1, column 2, column 3, row 0, row 1, and row 2. Right, so this is actually a 3 by 4, right? So in other words, m must equal 3, n must equal 4. Okay, so of course 0, 0 is a dot, 0, 1 is a star, 0, 2 is a dot, and so on. Okay, so there's one example. Let's go ahead and look at another one, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Row 0, row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, and row 5. And so this must be a 6, so m must be 6, n must equal 8. And so again, I see that, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, and so on. So I want to start looking for patterns. Like in this, I'm going to start off with all dots for sure. So then the question is, how do I figure out where the stars go? So I noticed that the stars, at least in this first row, the stars all happen at odd numbers, right? So if my column is odd, right? That applies over here as well if my column is odd. So let's here. Wait a second, so my column is odd, but here my column is even, right? So 0, 2, 4, 6. So here C is even. Okay, and then it's back to column being odd. Okay, and then column even. Okay, column is, okay, so I definitely see a pattern here. So it's alternating. So then let's see, looking at the row number here, the row is 0. Right? So row is 0, row is 1, row is 2. So 0, 2, 4. So here the row is even. Here the row is odd. Row is even. Row is odd. Okay, so it looks like if row is even but column is odd, right, if row is even but column is odd, we should have a star. If row is odd but column is even, we should also have a star. Okay, does that apply over here? So row is even, column is odd. Row is odd, column is even. Okay, that seems to be working. So let's look at a third example down here. All right, so row 0, column 1. Row 1, column 0 and 2. Row 2, column 1. So that seems to also be applying. So now we have something to go with. Now we have a pattern that we can try to evaluate with our code. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our code. Again, I start off with just the starter code here. Just like with Snowflake, we want to start off with the list. So I'm going to call it board equals. And let's see here. Each row is going to consist of a bunch of dots for x in range n. Right, so that's the number of columns. And then I make a second, put a second bracket for y in range m. Okay. And then I'm going to go and do a print. So I'm going to print board. So for row in board, for call in row, print call and equals space, and then print that there. And now I should be able to test this chessboard. Let's go ahead and do a 4 by 6. Run this, and 4 rows, 6 columns. Okay, cool. So that's working. Okay, so I want to process the board. Process board. All right. So again, 2 parts: process, then print. So to process it, so I'm going to say for R in range. Now the number of rows in this case is M. For C in range N. All right. So there we go. I'm not actually looking at, I'm never looking at the values in this 2D list. I am just strictly changing the values. Okay, so let's see here. We said if R is even and C is odd, or R is odd and C is even. All right, so that's what we want. All right, so if they are different, okay, so well, how do we test for odd or even? Well, we use mod 2, right? So if R mod 2 is equal to 0, that means that R must be even. Whereas if R mod 2 is equal to 1, then R must be odd. So if we want them, if we think about this, R is even, C is odd, that means that R mod 2 must not be the same as C mod 2. So if R mod 2 is not equal to C mod 2, then we would want to change boards RC to a asterisk. All right, let's go ahead and test this and see what it looks like. I think that might accidentally have it. So again, I'm going to get rid of this chessboard for 6. I'm going to run Python 3-m doctest. And this one's called chessboard, so I'm just going to chessboard tester. Yep, I think that's got a -v. All 8 have passed. So there we've got another solution. Remember, it doesn't always have to be, generally speaking, it's not going to be super complex. If you take a little bit of time up front doing some problem solving, you find the patterns, you can really save yourself a whole lot of time solving these kinds of problems.